Any reproduction or transmission of this broadcast is strictly prohibited without written consent of WSTU.
The Treasure Coast longest-running local talk radio show is on the air. The Treasure Coast Forum, brought to you by... Get interested, get educated, get involved, and give us a call with your opinions at 220-9788. And here's your host of the Treasure Coast Forum.
I really do it every time. Hi, it's Jillian. I'm hosting today, and I'm with my best friend, Emma Garner. Hi, glad to be here. And she's going to help me on the show today.
Oh, very good. Oh, you guys are sharing the same laptop.
Yeah. We're on the same device.
Nice. Well, very good.
Yeah.
So I'm the only. Well, we could stay on for. Yeah, that's great. Okay, very good. Yeah, there's no timeout on that because anything more than one person on the connection. So,
okay, perfect.
For our listeners, we are zooming this connection so that we can be socially distanced here in our small studio, so that make sure that everybody involved can be as safe as we can possibly be. And so with that, Jillian, why don't you take it away?
Well, I think we should start with the good, the bad, and the ugly.
All right. Let me get to that. All right. Let's see. All right. We'll do that. All right.
All right. So for the good today, we have some local news that Bathtub Beach is now open.
That is good news.
Yes. So the beach has been closed for about 6 months. And it's finally reopened. Previously, they had plans for a major sand renourishment, but it didn't happen due to the unavailability of dredging. So basically, I kind of read this article and it said, enjoy it while you can, because the summer conditions will keep it nice for as long as possible, just because of the not too much wind and something about the tide won't take the sand away. So to get out there and kind of enjoy that beach while you can.
All right. That's pretty good.
Now on
the bad.
Now on to the bad.
Right.
So the bushfire burning in the Northeast Valley in Phoenix is now the largest fire actively burning in the U.S. Wow. It's burned over 89,000 acres. It started June 13th. And this turns into 12 active wildfires in Arizona, which is a lot and a lot of damage.
Oh, that is bad.
Yeah, not good.
Right.
On to the ugly, kind of a funny one. There is a wallaby on the loose in Aurora, Colorado.
All right. Isn't that an Australian critter?
Yes, it is. And I guess it had been in a zoo or like a farm zoo type of thing. And it got loose about 2 weeks ago.
Oh, no.
And it was spotted Tuesday morning, 25 miles from where it first went missing. They urge people to call if they do spot the wallaby, but do not approach him because he is very skittish.
Okay, I guess I'd be skittish too.
Yeah, so we have a wallaby on the loose for our ugly.
Oh, okay. All right, very good. Well, that completes our good, the bad, and the ugly feature.
Yes, thanks, Spring.
All righty. All right.
So we have a list of topics, but I wanted to start kind of local with the Roosevelt Bridge, which is causing quite a lot of traffic, as I was stuck in it for about an hour yesterday. So the Roosevelt, I'm sure everyone listening knows, but it's 6 lanes carrying US 1 traffic over the St. Lucie River. And after investigation, transportation officials found some rust in the steel cables that had been exposed due to other damages. So I guess someone had come out and checked it out, and they noticed cracks and falling concrete. So they shut down the bridge. They also said that it's not safe to travel underneath the bridge as well. So kind of a a not so good thing for our little town. It's going to cause a lot of trouble with the traffic and rerouting everyone who takes that bridge every day.
Right. I'm going to have Representative Gail Harrell will be on the Friday show at 5:00, and we'll get a update from the Florida. She's Senator Gail Harrell for Florida. She's our Florida state senator. So that should be very interesting to see what updated information we can glean from her. And I know Toby Overdorf is also very busy. He's our local representative also. And and so it's all hands on deck. Everybody's working the problem. Right now, we're just waiting for the engineering study to get completed. And then the engineers will hopefully devise a fix. And then they have to find a way to implement the fix. So it's...
Yeah, I think it'll be down for a little while, longer than we want. But
right now,
they actually
go ahead.
The tolls on the Florida Turnpike between Port St. Lucie and Stuart are now waived, so that's kind of good. They're trying to help some people out, but we really backed up. I also found some interesting information, kind of on the backstory and the history of the Roosevelt Bridge. So in April of 1994, they built the bridge. It's 65 feet high, and it took 10 years to plan, and it cost an estimated $72 million. And back, I remember the stories that my parents told me and all of that. It was a huge deal because we have that other bridge, but it was a huge deal. It was a big change to Stuart. So I guess we'll go back to old times for a little bit.
Exactly right. We don't even have the use of the old Roosevelt Bridge, and that's one of the things. That one down as well. Right. So what they're hoping is they can get more comfort from the condition of the bridge, and if they feel that there's not going to be any more falling debris coming off of the bridge, then they may allow for emergency traffic to at least traverse the lower bridge. That way, so that's kind of important to connect North Stuart, all the emergency vehicles so they can get to the Martin Memorial, which is...
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So it's a bit of a concern, and that's, they're working that. So that's one of the ideas they're talking about, that at the very least, they're hoping to have it at least available to emergency vehicles. And hopefully, if they have more comfort from the results of the engineering study, the lower bridge may get open. So we just have to stand by. Go ahead.
I actually have breaking news. Apparently, they just declared a state of emergency because of the bridge. And that information is coming from WPTV.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it is. It's a local emergency, and I know that local and state officials are urging people, if you don't have to come to Stuart, don't. Which is not good for us. It's not good for our businesses.
No,
not good for commerce. So it's a bit of a problem. It's definitely an emergency situation.
Yeah, sad to see, because I think downtown Stuart was getting customers back in, and getting the lost revenue.
This is
that we had just gone through.
Right. It's like 2.0.
Yeah, exactly. We just can't catch a break.
Right. So what do we have next?
Next, I have an iPhone can auto record your police encounter. So kind of going along with 2 weeks ago segment on the protest and how that affected us locally. I just read an article about a shortcut that your phone can take, where basically you speak into Siri and she will start auto recording whatever's going on. It says the protests in the Black Lives Matter movement have brought videos and live streams to light of the police interaction. And iPhones may have a shortcut. and this is a direct quote from the article. If you have an iPhone, however, it is possible to use Apple's Shortcuts app and Shortcut created by Reddit user Robert A. Peterson to send a message with your location to a friend or family member and automatically begin recording a video. All you have to say is a simple Siri command, "Hey Siri, I'm getting pulled over." So I definitely think if this word gets out and more people can start using this feature, we will have hopefully not as much things to uncover, but it could bring to light more things and more issues within our society.
All right. So, well, I guess it can't hurt to have more eyes and ears. That's essentially what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I just thought that was really cool, and I'd never heard of that. And apparently there's, if you go online, there's specific instructions on how to implement that into your phone. Basically, you download something called like Apple Shortcut. You go into your settings, you make sure it's available in your phone, and then you do something with the Siri command. I'm not going to be real specific because I don't know the specifics, but it seemed, from what I read, it was a pretty simple thing. And I definitely think that everyone should implement that into their phone.
So that's a feature they can find in Apple Play or Pay or whatever it's called.
Yeah, I think the App Store.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah. So I have Emma here with a story that she found, and she's going to take it away.
All right.
So our next topic is about Florida being predicted as the next coronavirus epicenter. So today alone, there were 3,207 cases reported, which is the largest single day count for the state. And the overall cases in the entire state hit nearly 86,000 people with the virus. And Wednesday's projections from the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia and the University of Pennsylvania show that Florida has all of the markings to be the next epicenter of the virus. So it joins other states with record high daily total cases, such as Alabama, Arizona, California, North and South Carolina, Oklahoma, Oregon, and Texas. And the risk of contracting the virus is still very evident, especially in social situations, even if the country has been starting to return to normal, as our state has with its different phases of social distancing. And but the risk is still very evident for people to contract the virus, even if things are starting to return to normal.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It'll be interesting to see the transition, because as we open things back up, will the fear go away, or will the fear be prevalent? Will people really themselves start to open up to this phase? I think we're in phase 2 now. And
but
kind of what that is, like
they're doing more testing, aren't they?
Yeah,
exactly.
That's part.
I mean,
of
that's
the
part.
rise in cases.
Yeah. So if we didn't do the testing, then the numbers would be flat or very
considerably lower.
Right.
And that's part of the reason why the country has such a high number of cases, because there are more tests available to people, and the results are finally coming back from people who took tests a long time ago.
Right.
But even as we open things up,
we could really say that earlier counts were maybe undercounted.
Yeah,
absolutely. But as seen time and time again, that the news and the media will really influence how people feel about the virus and how life is gonna kind of return. And I think as more information comes out with the testing and stuff, that shift in people's minds will definitely be apparent.
Yeah, I got a little feature here if you're interested. Brian Mast talked to Fox News earlier today, and I got a little piece of that and about this very same issue. Would you like to hear it?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis vows to keep the state open despite a spike in Florida's coronavirus cases. So how can the state move forward while still protecting the most vulnerable? Republican Florida Congressman Brian Mast joins us to weigh in. Do you support the governor's decision to not alter tactics and opening schedules, Congressman?
I do support the governor's decision, knowing everything that he's doing, having had personal conversations with him and speak to him about how he's looking at the numbers, managing things, and really asking people to be aware of the tools that are out there for them, but go out there and make wise decisions for themselves based upon their own personal risk.
I mean, let's just take a look. Before, Florida was looking at a case-by-case, week-by-week situation, and they range from 3 to 7% over 2 weeks in cases, and it spiked to 10%, for example, on Tuesday. As we take a look at this chart now, it looks like an EKG, but you get what we mean. So it shows an uptick. Now, a lot of reasoning goes behind that. One, testing increased in hotspot areas, and there's a new focus on nursing homes because of their vulnerability. That's how it was explained to me. What about you?
No, that's 100% true. I've had very personal conversations with the governor. He wants to know, hey, is there a hot spot in this area? Is there a certain community where houses are closer together? Or maybe there's more than one family living in the houses in that area where it can create a more rapid spread in that area. And then they're putting testing sites in those locations, trying to make them convenient for the populations so that they can get to the root, give people accurate numbers so that they can do, like I said, have those tools of knowing the numbers, knowing the risks, knowing how to protect themselves with hand sanitizer, masks, and other things, but being able to make the decision of where they're going to go, how long they're going to stay there, who they're going to go with, how close they're going to get to people, and manage that risk for themselves, because that's what ultimately has to be done. We have to look internal. We have to say, what are our risks? Does somebody in my family have cystic fibrosis or something else, or something that could hurt the lungs? And do we think that we might come in contact with somebody? Do we want to put somebody else at risk, and manage that for ourselves? That has to be the way we move forward. And that's what Governor DeSantis is doing well.
All right. So that's that little feature recorded earlier today with Brian Kilmeade from Fox News.
That was really, really interesting. And I agree with him. I do. I think that life needs to open up and continue. And most definitely the people that are at risk or don't feel comfortable should be provided with the tools and resources to do so.
And those who want to stay home can obviously still stay home. It's not saying that everyone needs to go out in public, but for those who do, DeSantis's plan with social distancing and the number of feet that people need to stay apart from each other and wearing masks out when they go out to a restaurant or out shopping is very important. And I think it's actually very safe and sanitary for those who do want to go outside.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, Emma, 100%. Also, kind of segueing into this on like a personal aspect, Emma and I are both a part of a show right now at Starstruck Theater, and we work there Monday through Friday, 12 to 5 every day. And we've kind of been learning on how to distance ourselves with others, but still working and resuming into that normal life. So we wear masks. We try to stay far apart, even within the scenes within the show. Jennifer Jones, our director, is teaching us how to still show the same emotion and tell the same story, but 6 feet away. So it's definitely been an interesting thing, and Emma and I are experiencing it firsthand. And in my personal opinion, I think that it's really worth it. I'm glad that we're able to take the safety precautions, but still enjoy the things that we like to enjoy. And so far, it's gone very well.
Yes, and our theater, we're performing the show Rent at Starstruck Theater. Shameless plug on June 26th and 27th. But the theater, for the actual shows, the theater's capacity is at 50% due to phase 2 of DeSantis's plan. So everyone is able to be socially distanced when they're sitting in the theater. The audience members are, and we wear masks all day long. And even when we're on stage, we're all at least 3 feet apart. And it's been a very interesting experience learning how to do a show that a lot of the themes are about love and connection between people while still staying distance. And I think it makes the message even stronger.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I've never felt uncomfortable. They take our temperatures every day. And I feel like they've done a really, really great job at sanitizing and doing the best they can. Obviously, the situation is not ideal for anybody, but it's been interesting and definitely a look into locally how we're dealing with opening back up.
I think opening back up things is important, not just for the health of businesses and financially, but for all of the kids our age who want to go back to school in the fall. The Zoom school was a very life-changing experience for everyone because none of us had ever done anything like that before. We've never sat at home and done school.
No.
But going back, and you know what? It worked while it could. But I think going back to school in the fall and actually being in a classroom with a teacher is how things really get done. And I think grades for kids and going to college will be impacted immensely.
Well, we're a socially driven culture. It's part of our human existence, and so this whole process that we have to social distance and all that sort of thing, which I get it, but it's antithetical to our normal state of being. So
absolutely,
yeah.
I think even mentally for teenagers and kids that are growing up here, I think we need to be around people. We can't just stay in our homes. Like you said, we're a socially driven culture. And I think it's important for us to grow up being able to experience life with other people. So and even if that means we're doing it with masks on and 3 feet apart, it's still incredibly important.
Right. And so, when you get in your car, there are risks. When you get into an airplane, there are risks. When you elect to do anything external, there's a risk associated with that. And as a young adult or as an adult, you kind of weigh those risks and you try to make reasonable decisions that are, hopefully safe decisions. But that's part of the freedom that we enjoy, or we should have to enjoy.
I agree.
Absolutely. Most definitely. And I think it's kind of up to everyone personally and how we're going to go about deciding when we're going to do things, where we're going to do things, and how many people are going to be involved. And it's just been interesting, different way of life.
The government's putting a lot of trust in the people themselves to make sure that they're doing things smartly and respectfully.
Yeah.
With, of course, respect for the people who don't want to leave their homes and want to stay apart from other people. It's just up to us now.
Right. We could be in China. Now, I've seen videos in China where somebody when they had their earlier lockdown, they mandated that people had to stay in their homes, and somebody had ventured out for whatever reason that individual had, and somebody of authority, I assume, went out in the street and physically beat that individual and chased them back into their apartment. And that's the other option that you have. So I think, making, I think as a free society, we should have the right to make bad decisions too, and not that you want to encourage people to make good decisions, but it's kind of Darwinian, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But I think, but as part of a free culture, people have the right to make bad decisions, and they can look at that and they go, maybe I could have made a better decision, and maybe going forward, they're going to make better decisions in their life. So you can't always have somebody telling you what those best decisions are all the time. You need to experience life.
Yes, it's definitely a push and pull between the people and the government.
Yeah. So true. All right.
So with that, I think it's time for our first break.
It is indeed. Very good.
Perfect timing.
Outstanding. And we'll be right back, so stick with us. Hey, Steffi. All right, I'm on commercial break right now, or I couldn't even take your call. Yeah. Yeah, I'd still do radio. So, all right, honey, I gotta go. All right, love you. Okay, I look forward to talking to you later. All right, bye-bye. Bye. Okay. Welcome back to Treasure Coast Forum. All right. And so we are still Zooming the Treasure Coast Forum, and Jillian Plymel and her best friend, Emma, is there, right?
Yep. Yep.
Hey, very good. Now, Emily is my granddaughter's name. So that's
Oh, close.
yeah.
Close.
Yeah. Well, yeah, she gets nicknamed Emma, but yeah. Emma.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So very good. Well, welcome back. And we've started the second half of the show. And this is a youth in government program. Maybe you could tell our listeners a little bit about youth in government and what all you folks do.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So Emma and I are both a part of YIG. We are now going to be going on year 4. I am judicial coordinator, so I work in the judicial program. We do mock cases and mock trials. It's a really, really cool program. I actually just started judicial this year. Before I was in we call it ledge, but it's the legislative branch. And Emma and I have been going to state assembly, and what's the other one called?
We go to
FDC,
Florida something convention, which
fun.
is F stands for fun. But what YIG is it's a mock government, a mock Florida government, made up entirely of high school students who are either in the executive, legislative, or judicial branch of government, just like the real adults do it up in the Capitol. But those in the legislative branch get to make the bills, and they are passed or not passed through different houses. So it's just a mock Congress.
Yeah, it's really cool. We get to learn all about government and how it really works, and it's taken very seriously. It's really, really well done, and we meet every year in Tallahassee at the Capitol, and we actually get to work and advocate for bills or present a mock trial. It's a really, really cool experience, and we've definitely enjoyed it.
We have enjoyed our last 3 years there.
Or 2, because 3rd got cut short.
Yeah.
3rd did get cut short, unfortunately.
Yikes. All right. Well, we've got a special caller on the line, and are you guys ready to take a call?
Yeah, sure.
All right. There you go.
Good evening. Great to hear everybody on the show.
Hello, Father.
Hey, Mr.
Hello,
Sean.
daughter. So I found the conversation that y'all were having before the break was very interesting, bringing in those comments of Brian Mast and the governor, and I really thought, Frank, the sentiments that you were talking was kind of going down the same vein of what I was talking about, and I think you can disagree with a lot of the politics. You can certainly disagree with a lot of the policies of, DeSantis, but he's staying true to the core. And that core is that, at the bottom of it all, it's self-governance, which I think, both Emma talked about and Jillian talked about as well, echoing your sentiment. And what he's basically said is, look, we took the precautions we needed to collectively for society, but now everybody's kind of got to be responsible for themselves and make the choices that they need to make for themselves to provide for themselves as well. And I don't really see anything that is, more true to the principles that he espouses to, than that take. And I think you can apply that to all of the different things that are happening, now across the board. So certainly echo the sentiments. And, I think it's important that we as a society keep emphasizing the things that need to be done. But, great example, of the differences, between when you have government stepping in to tell people what to do, versus when you have government stepping in and, giving people suggestions and giving them the support that they need. But at the end of the day, I think Frank hit the nail on the head. You got to have freedom to make bad decisions in the perceptions of other people, because freedom is, I don't have to believe that what you think is a bad decision for me is a bad decision for me. That was kind of what the country was founded on.
Exactly right.
Yes, I definitely agree with you, Dad.
That's a first. So we'll certainly take those.
Yeah, I know. I had to bite my tongue a little bit, but it slipped.
Now, Jillian,
I apologize for missing the opening of the show, but have you all touched yet on the Seattle situation and what's going on out there?
No, we haven't. But before we do that, and we do want to touch on that, Jillian, do you have anything else you want to say to your dad about maybe like today or tomorrow something is going on? Do you know?
Yes, I would love to wish him a very, very happy birthday.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Very well appreciated.
Thanks, Frank.
Very good with the music as well, Frank.
Would you like to share how old you're turning, Dad?
I am turning 30 yet again.
Yeah, yet again.
Oh.
Yet again.
Okay.
It just keeps coming around. No, I am 47 years young, my lovely daughter.
Oh, very good.
Oh.
Yes, my goodness. To be 47 again. I love it. That's great.
There it is.
Yes.
So, yes, I am very intrigued to hear the girls' take on what's happening out in Seattle.
Yes. Okay. So, take it away, ladies.
Well, before we do that, since you don't run the show anymore, Dad, I have another segment on something going on in China, actually. China's police force is collecting blood samples to build a genetic map. They are right now only collecting from males, but with this new technology, authorities will be able to track down male relatives, and an American company is helping. This company sold testing kits to China and has gotten criticisms for this exchange. The DNA database will heavily propel the security system Chinese authorities are trying to put in place. That includes advanced cameras, facial recognition, and artificial intelligence. So basically, they can use this information, which I think is a huge invasion of privacy, to track down other relatives and to punish
China.
other relatives.
There is no privacy in China. There is no. I don't think they have. They don't have anything. They have no expectations of privacy, right?
Yeah, no. And with this new technology, no one's going to be able to hide anything.
Right. Yeah.
Well, and look at, there is some things that have been talked about too in the parallels when you talk about a genetic database. We have a genetic database, here in the United States, and it posed some controversy as well in, the felons. So, and if you'll, look at the case study of the, I think the phrase was the Golden State Killer, the former cop, and that cop, was linked to 12 different murders, but how they were able to identify him was they had DNA from the scenes and they used DNA that had been submitted by his relatives, and they used that to link it back to him. And that was very controversial.
Yeah.
So here you have an individual whose DNA was not in the system, but they used DNA in the system to link it to him, raising significant privacy concerns. But how do you balance that with the public good of catching a serial killer?
I think that overall, taking someone else's DNA samples that aren't necessarily involved in the crime is just, it's too far. It's too far. And I think we can have other resources and other ways of catching serial killers. Yes, there might be an easier way, but again, back to America and back to this freedom. We can't always take the easier route. We have to take the right route. That's my take on it. I know that there's definitely different takes to it, but I would not feel comfortable with that.
Yeah, and certainly it's not surprising that China would be leading the charge on how to exert their power using that technology and those databases.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Then you get into the issue about what about them capturing, DNA from foreign, visitors.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that that's a stretch that we can think is unthinkable that China would take that step. You want to come into our country to do business, you have to submit your DNA.
Wow.
Yeah.
What about
sure.
if you're just going as a vacation or to visit? How does that work?
You'll have to ask the premier. You'll have to ask the chairman of the Communist Party of China, I suppose.
Wow. It's sweet. Yeah. It's I mean, when you plan your vacation, you really don't think about, the whole DNA thing though, do you?
Interesting to think of the parallels of Big Brother in 1984, right?
Yes. Did
Absolutely.
you ladies read that book?
We did, actually. We read it our sophomore year of high school.
Mm-hmm.
And we all read it. We were in the same English class, actually, and we read it together.
Yeah.
And it's a very interesting book to read, especially in this time period, because actually I remember hearing from one of my teachers that this year, 1984 came back into like the top 100 most sold books of the year, or most like rented books from the library, or it was just its popularity rose significantly within the last couple of years, because I think people are starting to see the parallels from what George Orwell wrote in his book to modern day society.
And how about Fahrenheit 451? Have you read that?
We actually have not read that one yet in school.
Okay. That could segue pretty well to what's going on in our western state. Is that Washington State, right? There's something going on over there. There's somebody formed a country of Chaz or something in Seattle, Washington.
Yes, in Seattle, Washington, there are 6 blocks that are taken up by protesters who are protesting in favor of the Black Lives Matter movement and for the defunding of the police department in Seattle. And if I'm being completely honest, I don't have enough information to form an entire opinion on the topic myself as of right now. But the two sides that are really being handled right here are what they're trying to prove is that they don't need a police department in order to keep their city safe from crime.
Yeah, because the protesters have actually taken over the police station.
But the 2 points that are really being made are, is it better to wait out the protesters, or is it better to fight back right off the bat, because the protesters shouldn't have the ability to do that?
Right, because they're kind of an anarchy type of situation, don't you think?
Yes, to some degree. I definitely think I need more information.
I also obviously need more information on the topic to form a real opinion. I think to some extent it is Americans using their constitutional right to protest, but it is being taken to a new level that we haven't seen before
We haven't experienced and
as a country. So
Yeah. How about the constitutional rights of all the businesses in that 6-block area that want to, continue commerce? They pay into the local, state, and federal tax system for for the privilege of having a business there, and probably not doing very well.
yeah, it's very difficult.
It's a reasonable
situation for all
expectation when
involved.
you own a business, in a major metropolitan area, that you're not going to have anarchists, taking over your local government. That would be, I would think, to be a fairly reasonable expectation as a business owner.
yeah, it's just hard right now because our country's kind of going through a new wave, and it's a whole movement, and we need to figure out how to handle it. We also need to figure out how to answer to what people are protesting and fix the problem so that this doesn't happen again and people don't need to protest this issue.
We're really seeing a new wave of the civil rights movement back from the 60s, because here we have all new methods of dealing with protesters and different ways of handling the problem that we haven't seen before. And I think that now with phones and recording of every situation that's happening, things can either be taken out of context or seen in different ways that they haven't been seen before. So this is really a new challenge for America as a whole.
Well, and what about the point of that, based on local rule and states' rights, that's a situation that Washington and Seattle, as a municipality, they have the right to handle that situation the way that they want.
Right.
The mayor there made the decision to avoid what was seeming to be an impending conflict of abandoning the police station. And I may have an opinion on it, and I, as an American, certainly have my right to voice my opinion. But I don't believe that I have the right to tell anybody in Seattle or Washington State how they should handle problems in Washington and in Seattle.
Correct.
Yes, and I think that kind of went, like, I remember a few weeks ago when we were talking about the statue too, and we kind of were on we were trying to decide the pros and cons of it and what at least the kids that were on the line were what they thought of it. And I think that especially right now in America, like, sometimes we just need to hand it over to the state because we're not in their shoes, we're not there, and we can't possibly understand the issue. And that it should, I do believe, once again, I know it's so hard to say, but I do agree with you. And I know we've had these talks many times at home too, but we can't possibly understand, and it should be up to Washington and the people in Seattle to assess the situation.
And an interesting form of protest, certainly, but it's interesting as a group steps in to protest the militarization of the police, and advocate for the defunding of police. And in doing so, they create a bordered, guarded area that is fairly tightly controlled.
Yeah. It is irony. It is indeed. Well, while we ponder that irony, I need to take a quick 1-minute timeout, and then we'll be right back. How's that?
Keep up the good work. Great
All right.
to talk to you all. Great show.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Jillian. We'll be right back. $20 seconds. All right, that's the theme song from Monk. That's our world's biggest germaphobe, who is ahead of the curve on all the things that are germaphobe related. Anyways, a little bit of fun for you. We have a caller on the line, a separate caller. Mr. Plymel had to leave the phone, and we have another caller. So you've got a couple of minutes. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, I just thought we've heard from the third generation and their opinion, and we've heard from the second generation. I thought it was only fair to hear from the first generation. This is Tom Plymel, better known as OPOP, to your moderator there, and I just wanted to bring up.
Hello, OPOP.
Hello, Jill B. I just wanted to bring up that your points are well taken on the reopening, and that you have to live your lives, and nobody feels worse than I do about what's happened to all the kids that are in high school, not getting to have their high school experience. But also, I think what you have to consider as well, and I take great offense with the people who refuse to wear masks and do social distancing in places that I have to go. I have no problem with the people who are together by themselves, but when I go into Publix and I wear my mask to protect myself and my wife from whatever I would take home, I do take great offense to the people who refuse to wear a mask in Publix, who refuse to walk the right way down the aisles, and who also refuse to follow social distancing. So what are your thoughts on that?
I agree with you, and I can completely understand why people are taking offense. And I've heard many situations with my friends who are working, and people are definitely being vocal about the offenses they're taking to those. And I know we talked about freedom and choosing what you want to do and what's best for you. But on the other side of that, there is a line, and
right.
You're right. You have to go. You have to go to Publix. You have to go to the pharmacy. You have to go to the post office, and those are definitely places where people should be a lot more considerate. I personally don't think it should be mandatory. I don't think people should be forced into it, but I definitely think it's a culture within society that we should be creating to be considerate of those other people and to be considerate of those people at risk.
So,
and I don't think it should be government's job either. And I hate for the government to have to dictate things.
Right.
But when people won't follow the basic rules, and it's not like we're asking them to wear their mask all the time, just where other older people are going to be in the Publixes and the pharmacies where we have to go.
Right. Well, I think Paul Harvey said it best many years ago when he said, "Your rights end where mine begin."
And that's the rest of the story.
Well done.
That's definitely it.
But yeah, I think that's really your larger point, right?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But do let me, before I know we're running out of time, but let me compliment the girls on what a great job they're doing.
Yes, they're very well poised, don't you think?
So, Pop.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, they've had good, instructive adults to learn from.
Well, that we could debate it another time.
Okay, fair enough. Well, we sure thank you for your call.
Okay, great show. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. Very good.
So, with the limited time we have left, I have an interesting story.
All right, go ahead.
About the Aunt Jemima brand. So, the brand's namesake comes from a racist archetype. Oh my gosh.
Archetype. Yes.
That originated in minstrel shows. The company announced Wednesday that their brand will be changing its name. And this is a quote from the vice president of the company. While work has been done over the years to update the brand in a manner intended to be appropriate and respectful, we realize that these changes are not enough. So the changes will appear in stores probably around the end of the year, they say, and it has sparked inspiration in other companies alike. So I found that very interesting. And
I remember years ago, that particular product talked about trying to figure a way to stay relevant and keep their product out there, but rebrand it. They were wrestling with how to do that, many years ago, 3, 4, 5 years ago or more.
Yeah. And I think that they have to start making some changes, because I definitely disagree with the name and think that it's a new time and it's not right.
Right.
Personally, I think the rebranding of Aunt Jemima is amazing. And I think that because such a large company is starting this
wave
or
complicated,
movement of
a lot goes through your mind.
getting
With
rid of
Fidelity Wealth
rid of-
Management, your dedicated
Sorry about
advisor
that.
can give you straightforward
No,
you're
advice
fine.
and
All
tailored
good.
recommendations. That's the clarity
I'm
you get
trying to get
with
this thing
Fidelity
turned
Wealth
off.
Management.
This commercial decided to pop up. I got a pop-up commercial. But this
Technical difficulties, no problem.
It's about time. I don't know. It's
this is a CNN feature
people are
talking about the
cognizant of
Aunt
what's going
Jemima
on around
brand.
them. The social
Sure,
change, the
play it.
cultural change that we're seeing, let's just hope it permeates the halls of Congress. Let's hope that it permeates state legislatures and city councils around the country, because the symbolism is fine. I like the removal of Confederate flags. I like the removal of Confederate statues. I like the removal of Aunt Jemima. But we got to have statutory changes in order for us to have true systemic change in the country and root out a lot of this institutional racism we want to say. See, the last thing I'll say, Allison, is with Aunt Jemima gone, here's to you, Uncle Ben's. So that's what we're looking at next. I mean, these racist and racial caricatures must go. So Uncle Ben's, I believe, is probably next.
All right. So there you go. That's from our friends at CNN.
Yeah, I saw that too, that the company has sparked inspiration in Uncle Ben's company as well.
And no, frankly, I think it's necessary for these companies to do this, especially in the wake of what is potentially a second or third wave of the civil rights movement. And I think that it doesn't mean that the company needs to completely shut itself down from what it was. It just needs to rebrand and get rid of all of the racist remarks and
the fact
symbolism.
that they're making the change is what's important.
It's incredibly important.
Yeah. I would never want financially for a company who supplies many jobs to many people to lose more revenue than we've all already lost, but definitely change needs to be made, and it needs to be made as soon as possible.
And they're doing a great job of showing respect for the community.
I agree. I completely agree.
It's really an amazing decision.
All right. And that's the music. We got 10 seconds left. We want to say goodbye and thank you very much for participating in this show. Good night.